All right, let's dive into the sales capacity plan. One of the most popular parts of a growth model and one of the most well-known areas, but I really want to go into the details, identify some serious opportunities, and make sure you don't fall into any pitfalls that are really common for sales capacity planning as well. The first part of the capacity plan is your quotas and attainment. So this is what quota do you think is reasonable to assign to a seller, and what do you expect them to attain? A good way to have a baseline for quotas and attainment is to look at historical performance by rep. So understanding what quota did they carry, what did they attain, and what did it take to attain those quotas in the past. The next is really important and often overlooked is ramp time and recruitment. So when we build a plan, which we'll get to in the next slide here, we're going to take a look at the impact that it takes if you delay any hiring, and if you don't incorporate ramp time into the plan itself. Ramp time will include a couple components. One, how long does it take to train a seller on your product or service so they're comfortable pitching and working with potential clients? And the other is how long does it take to create pipeline and how long does it take to close that pipeline? So when can you expect a new seller to be productive in your model? The next section is going to be territory design. What territories will maximize the efficiency of the team that you're bringing in place, and where can they be successful to attain their targets? The next component is going to be the capacity needed for goal achievement. So backing from those revenue goals, when we have that bookings target, how many sellers do you need bringing in at the right time, accounting for ramp, in order to hit the bookings target to hit your overall revenue goals? The next is going to be pipeline needed to achieve quotas. So how many sales qualified leads do you expect the sales team to be sourcing themselves, which is going to be a component of the overall marketing plan? And then last but not least, a really important and often overlooked part is what's the commission plan and incentives to drive the overall strategy? All right, so let's go ahead and hop in and build our own sales capacity plan. I want you walking away with a real tangible example so you have an idea of how to build this on your own. So I'm going to make this pretty simple. We're just going to do 4 quarters, Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. You can excuse the handwriting. That's not part of the lesson. Let's say you have 4 reps already in seat. And I'm going to give you a couple assumptions that are going to help us build this plan. So assumption number 1 is we are looking to book $5 million in revenue. So that's $5 million in new sales for this year that we're trying to attain with this team. Ramp time, which is going to be the combination of getting your team trained on your product and service and building pipeline to where they can start closing deals, is going to be 1 quarter. And then attrition, this is something that's often left out in a plan. You know, oftentimes you hire new salespeople and one of them doesn't work out, or an existing person on your team ends up moving to another company. This is something that you really need to account for in your plan. So I'm going to assume that the attrition rate here is just going to be 1 rep because it's a simple example. But in order to get the true attrition rate, go ahead and look at historicals and see from a gross basis or a percentage basis, project that into the future of what you think might happen. So let's just say the current sellers in seat right now, historically, they've been able to do about $1 million in sales. And we have to build the team to get to 5 million. So let's say they got a nice even $250K per quarter, which isn't always the case. Some things that you're going to want to account for are seasonality. Maybe you close business more at the beginning of the year, maybe you close business more at the end of the year. But for this example, we'll just assume it's a nice spread equally across each quarter. Now, a common, I'll call it a mistake, is when we're bringing in new reps, it might look like, hey, if each rep can close $1 million and we already have a team that can close 4, then we probably just need 1 more rep in order to close 5. And this is where that ramp time and attrition is really going to be important. So if we hire somebody at the beginning of the year, the first quarter, they're not going to close anything. The next quarter, let's say they started to build pipeline, they started to get a few deals under their name, but we wouldn't anticipate them to be running at full production, somebody who's been at the company for multiple years. So let's say their next quarter, they can close 100K. And then once they get a good quarter underneath their belt, we can expect them to get to full production after that point. So they're going to end up closing about 600K worth of business, which is only going to get us to 4.6. So let's add another rep. Let's assume we're hiring them at the same time. Let's say they have the same trajectory. So then we have another 600K. But something that we talked about is we need to anticipate for some level of attrition. Don't expect the whole team to stay for the whole time, every single hire to work out. You need to be able to bake in attrition expectations into the model. So let's assume this is the person that doesn't work out. Well, then we're going to want 1 more person to come into the mix as a buffer. And then you should be able to hit that target that you had set for $5 million. So I just want to highlight one more thing. It's very easy to take a look at what your team has produced already and assume that you may need minimal resource just to hit that next level of target, but you really have to account for ramp time, attrition, and make sure you have enough capacity to hit the bookings target that you set ahead of you.